Again, those are very relevant and relevant vulnerability classes that are exploited at scale. And if you want additional confirmation for remote code execution type of vulnerability over the years as well, for CISA KEV or CISA non-exploited vulnerability, this is the study that CISA, the Cybersecurity Agency for Infrastructure in the US, has done over the years and has explored this vulnerability. And these are the top 30 exploited for every year, 2021, 22, 23, and 24. And if you want additional confirmation, again, memory corruption and code execution or remote code execution in this particular case, because the code can be triggered remotely, are more relevant. Now, this is why I particularly like this view of vulnerabilities and to look at really the root cause of the vulnerability as the classes of vulnerability that you have. Now, if you look at the classes of vulnerabilities, what you will probably do is analyzing how bad a vulnerability is, and this is an example with Phoenix Security that brings together not only the classes of vulnerability, but also the type of vulnerability, all the CTI that is affected by it. And then you can look at the root cause analysis of like how many systems are affected by this particular vulnerability, and can we solve this particular vulnerability at scale with a focused view on this. So that's what we normally call a root cause remediation campaign. So looking at a systemic issue, how much vulnerability, how many findings are affected by this particular vulnerability, what is the aggregated risk that this particular vulnerability brings to the table, and how can we solve and eradicate this particular problem at scale eventually if this particular issue is identified, and who carry that particular risk across our organization. That is the topic that we're gonna touch point in a second. But just to recap, we have a vulnerability. Traditionally, we will say fix this particular vulnerability with SLA X, Y, and X. But we're not looking at the root cause of problem that is this particular class of vulnerability that affect this particular issue, that is the QNAP vulnerability, exploited at scale by threat intelligence, by the likelihood of exploitation, or by the classes of vulnerability that are more exploited at scale. And again, in the link, you're going to have the risk explorer